All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're exploring a pretty jarring idea from our source material. The thought that your savings account, the place you think is the safest for your money, might actually be a ticking time bomb. Our source really kicks things off with this quote, and it's designed to make you stop and think. The idea that your financial fortress is actually more like a cage? That's a powerful statement. So, what does that really mean? Let's unpack it. So, the first piece of this puzzle is what our source material calls the digital illusion. This is all about the disconnect between the numbers you see on a screen and what's actually physically yours. Think about it. You open your banking app, you see a balance, and it feels real, right? But here's the twist. Those digits aren't cash stacked in a vault with your name on it. They're just a digital record, an IOU. In essence, you've given the bank an unsecured loan, and they are legally allowed to do what they want with it. To really get this, you have to understand a critical distinction between money and currency. Think of money as an actual asset, something that holds value because it's real and finite, like gold or land. Currency, on the other hand, is just the medium of exchange. The digits in your bank, that's currency. It's a system of promises, of IOUs, not a direct claim on a physical asset. So that brings us to section 2. If our savings are really just a bunch of IOUs, you have to ask, how sturdy is the whole system? Well, the source calls it a house of cards and points to a pretty chilling moment in history to back it up. Okay, so get this. Back in 1933, the banking system was on the ropes. So the U.S. government issued Executive Order 6102. It basically made it illegal for regular people to own gold. You could face huge fines, even prison time. The government forced everyone to sell their gold to them at a low price. And then, poof, they immediately revalued it much higher. It shows that when things get tough, the rules can change overnight, and private wealth can become public property. So how does a story from the 1930s connect to today? Well, it all starts with this idea: fractional reserve banking. It's the engine of our whole financial system. You deposit $1, and the bank keeps a small piece of it, a fraction, in reserve and then lends out the rest. For a long time, that fraction was maybe 10 cents on the dollar. But what do you think that number is today? Zero. Yep, 0%. And no, that is not a typo. In March of 2020, the reserve requirement for U.S. banks was officially set to 0. That means for every single dollar you deposit, the bank is legally required to hold, well, nothing at all. And this really gets to the heart of it. The whole system isn't running on vaults full of cash anymore. It's running on faith. It's running on our collective belief that the money will be there if we need it. It works only as long as we don't all show up and ask for our money back at the exact same time. It's a system built on confidence, not collateral. Which brings us to our third section. How does this fragile setup affect you day to day? Even if the system doesn't collapse, there's another quieter problem at play. A problem our source calls the silent wealth drain. It's something called the Cantillon effect. See, when new currency is created, it doesn't just magically appear in everyone's bank account. It's injected at the very top, into central banks and big financial players. They get to spend it first, snapping up assets while prices are still low. But by the time that new currency trickles all the way down to you, it's already pushed prices up for everything. So you get the new money last, but you pay the higher prices first. And here's what that looks like in practice. The source calls this the melting ice cube effect. Your savings account might be paying you, say, 1% interest. But if the real rate of inflation, the rate at which prices are actually going up, is 6%, then you're not gaining anything. You are actively losing 5% of your buying power every single year. Your savings are melting away. And here's the real kicker. Inflation isn't just a number on a screen. It's a tax. It's a silent, unvoted tax on your time. Think about it. The value of every single hour you have ever worked in your life is slowly being chipped away to pay for things you never agreed to. Okay, that's all pretty heavy, right? So if the system is designed like this, what can you possibly do? Well, that brings us to our final section, and the tone here really shifts from warning to action. It's all about building your own standard. So the source suggests a strategy based on 3 pillars of resilience. First, own tangible assets, real stuff, things that exist in the physical world and can't just be printed out of thin air, like precious metals or land. Second, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And that doesn't just mean one bank. It means one country's system. And third, and this might be the most important one, invest in yourself. your skills, your ability to create value for other people. That's a personal currency that can never be devalued by a central bank. It's yours. At the end of the day, what's being proposed is a huge shift in how you think about wealth. It's about moving away from a system based entirely on paper promises and institutional trust and moving towards one based on tangible reality and your own personal sovereignty. So we'll leave you with this final, very pointed question. If the whole digital banking system just paused for 2 days, could you still function? Could you still buy food? If the answer is no, then the argument is you don't really own your life. You're just renting it from the system. Something to think about.